Let's talk about the do's and don'ts of blow drying and the importance of brushes. Look at the 4 brushes I have in my hand. Now this brush is going to give me much more stretch. It's going to be able to grab the hair because of the vinyl bristles on it. This is my thermal brush, going to conduct heat. Now I've got a paddle brush and a 9-row, and watch how dry. Pair these up together. I'll dry one side with this and one side with this, and you can see the difference. First, we're going to go on the right side. Why don't we go ahead and use our round brushes? So the first brush I'm going to use is a medium size Arza Series boar bristle brush. I'm going to take my blow dryer. The importance of this is the nozzle. See, this room is filled up with air. What happens with a blow dryer is there's a motor inside, and all the air is sucked inside. When the blow dryer is turned on, it heats up that air and it shoots out the opposite side. So what you want to do is control your flow of air with a concentrator or a nozzle. But I control this with the ergonomics of my hand in terms of where I want it. So I'm going to really recommend, instead of gluing it right there, you're forcing yourself to put your hand in positions that shouldn't be. And you need to reposition your body. So watch as I'm blow drying the things and the way I'm going to work with it, but the angle I'm going to hold the brush. This season we tend to be holding the angle. Brushes are much more vertical or diagonal. And it's because of the direction we're moving here. Versus in the old days, we were very horizontal with things because everything was much more geometric, okay? Now I want some movement. Turning on my dryer, think about the angle, think about what I meant. Watch me just turn this. Now look how strong my arm is now. Versus me turning here, it's a little bit weaker in terms of the strength. So let's get the angle, look at the angle of the nozzle, picking up the brush, and now following through. Now let's talk about, look at where my nozzle at. My nozzle is not placed directly on the boar bristles. I don't care what they say about your brush, you're going to destroy the bristles. Keep your nozzles off of the section of hair. Notice how, look at the angle, look at me shift that angle, and look at me follow through. When I'm ready, I will roll up. Now watch this, watch how I'll get that section, watch how I work that section in. See those little ends down there, how I'll work them in? Now look at the angle, So this angle, I'm going to want to mimic this angle all the way through the finish. If I'm here, and then I come down on this section, I go vertical, now you're going to wonder why you're getting more volume and less volume in an area. Okay? So look at that angle, see how that's sitting? Here. Now I'll use my pinky, grab, and stretch. My elevation, look at the elevation, pay attention to the elevation. Blow drying is just like cutting hair. Okay, look at that elevation. Now watch how I'll continue that elevation here. Look how I pick up. Okay, pinky, reestablish, pick up, follow through. Look at the angle, coming to the ends, rolling. Okay, now watch me match that angle. Look at the angle. See the angle I'm getting on that? It's all based on the brush and of course your haircut. Coming through. Okay, now I've got the stretch that I want. See the stretch I've got? Let's get this area right here. A little bit more stretch right there. Look at the angle. Now you can see how that's just flowing right through. Now let's add some control to it. What do you mean by control? Let's conduct more heat so we get it to stay right there. That brush gave me the stretch. So now watch how I'll take my thermal, and my thermal is going to focus primarily on my ends. Same angle. I'll use the neck of the brush, the length of the blow dryer just to lay that on, stay control. Allow it to camp. Watch my nozzle move. And allow it to cool and release. Look at the polish I get. I'm conducting more heat, so I'm working this from about, not necessarily mid-shaft, almost mid-shaft to the ends. I'm working this. Now that's the story in regards to working with your round brushes on one side. Stretch, smoothness, polish, heat, conduct heat. It's going to give you more control. It's really going to get that hair to really stay where you want it to stay if you cool it down properly. Let's move to the opposite side. Now with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with 2 separate brushes on this one. I'm going to work with my paddle first, okay? And then I'll go to a 9-row finishing brush. I'm going to switch sides. So because I'm going to switch sides, what is so important when you switch sides, you switch hands. And some of you are out there saying, Sam, I can't switch hands. Well, I'll give you a little exercise. Take a blow dryer home or brush home. When you're at home, if you blow dry a lot with your right hand and the blow dryer's in the right hand, place the blow dryer in your left hand. Maybe get a blow dryer that doesn't work and cut the cord off. Now you have that left hand, it's in your left hand when you're sitting on the sofa, you're getting up, you're going to the kitchen, it's in your left hand. In your right hand is your brush. Do this every evening, and eventually it's going to become a habit. Watch, one day you'll walk back to the salon, you're going to reach your station, you're going to pick up the blow dryer with your left hand. But it's important. Why? Because of the ergonomics. Now watch this. Let's work with a paddle. A paddle is not going to give me as much stretch. So Sam, when would you use a paddle? I'd use a paddle when I have bone straight hair. And I want a little bit more straightness to it, but I want some bend to it, okay? So I don't want this big thing over here. It's not that type of client. So now I switch tools. Comes on, watch the paddle. But I'm still gonna work that paddle. Notice how I changed the nozzle. I moved that nozzle to a position where I was comfortable, okay? Come through, now paddle, same thing. Look how I'm using, look at the angle of the paddle. See the angle of the paddle? Watch me turn the angle so I can get through it. Just so I can get through it. See how this doesn't have as much bend as that. Okay? So this is when I want something to just float, pick up your paddle. Now once I got my smoothness with the paddle, then watch how I'll switch to a 9-row finishing brush. And I want you to notice the difference between one side and the opposite side. Notice how I switched hands. Notice the ergonomics of this in terms of how I'm working. Look at this side, how it tends to float and just feather back, if you will, just floating back. Now I'm going to switch to a 9-row thermal. Now watch what's going to happen. Here, here. I'm going to get a little bit more out of it. Now when I get here, I allow that to cool and I roll and wrap just like I might a round brush. Now notice I didn't do that to that side on the round brush. I didn't feel it was necessary. Could you do it to that side with a round brush? Sure you could. But now watch how I get a little bit more of a roll out of this. But watch when I run my fingers or my comb through, it's just going to give me some bend. So the big difference from one side to the opposite in terms of the brush that you use. Okay, let's continue to work through. Watch my nozzle adjust. Look at my nozzle. Look at the strength I have. See the strength I have with it? So my blow dryer is never out here in the air. Okay? Depending on where I'm at, I adjust the nozzle. Watch me pick up some of what I just did. Sets my angle up. Look how vertical that's going. Gets me through. Now go back to my diagonal. Stay consistent with the diagonal. Okay, stay consistent with your elevation. Now let's wrap. 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 Okay, next section behind that. Release that section. And wrap. Give me a little stretch. Come back through, wrap. Okay, now let's watch one side versus the other side. Now watch how casual one side is to the opposite side. So to continue this, I just continue to take diagonal sections moving back, but watch the difference of this. See how much this has in terms of its response? Now this, I should be able to take this, and I love just doing this. It just kind of gives me that effect to it. Okay, now watch this side. On this side, you're going to start to see how, watch, when I comb this out, look how much that just basically has a small amount of bend to it compared to that opposite side. So it's all about your finish in terms of what you want to see, how you want to see it, and remember, it's all about the angle of the brush. This season, we tend to be taking these brushes and turning them more diagonally and vertically versus horizontally. I hope you were able to get a message out of that.